Hello, welcome to the Awakening Spiritual Gifts broadcast. So excited to be here. How are you guys? How is everyone doing today? I have got a few places that we're streaming today, so please bear with me just one moment. Go ahead and ask any questions you've got or any comments, and we can just jump right in. I've actually been caught up. I have sometimes I get some questions emailed in or messaged in, and I'm actually all caught up on them. So that's pretty awesome. So we can dive right in today. I was just checking out the energy of the day today, and it has a bit of a calm. I don't want to say it's not necessarily calm. It almost feels a little bit like an exhale breath that's now going on. It's kind of this exhale, like a holding breath. So today there's not a lot of like high intensity energy, and there's not a lot of like super low energy. So it's just kind of like that middle point. So I'm really curious if you guys are feeling some of that. Hopefully, I would think that this middle point energy, it could manifest as feeling like a lull, or feeling lost, or feeling like, I don't feel, oh, sorry, my water's right here. But it doesn't feel like I want to rush in this direction or rush in this direction. It's just kind of like, what do I do? A little bit of that lull middle ground. So if you're feeling any of that today, just know that some of that is perfectly normal, and that we're all kind of feeling a little bit of that. Yeah. It's interesting because each person has their own stuff that they experience and their own energies and their own realities of what's going on, but then also this collective kind of influences it differently. So I was kind of seeing how that pattern was looking for some of my family members and myself even. So that was kind of fun. So it wasn't a huge message for you today on the energy of the day, but it was definitely a little something. And we can just jump right in. I'm going to actually go to YouTube. We got a comment from YouTube. I do love how this broadcast actually has reached people on multiple platforms, multiple places, and even in multiple countries. It's kind of fun. So Kurt, let's pull you up. My name is Kurt. Healing to the twitching of my right pointer finger. Can I help? Can I do anything to help myself with this? So great question. And that's such a specific place to like, my finger is twitching. So that's so interesting. So let's look at that for you. I do have to change my paper. Hold on. I'm going to just do a quick drink. I've been quietly working, and all of a sudden it's like the first time I've used my voice. So I was like, oh, need a little water. Okay. Let me see what I can see in your finger here, Kurt. Okay, it's really interesting. It's like I'm seeing there's kind of some shaking energy just in general. Like not only just when I look at your finger, but I can see something even around you, within you. It feels a little bit like there's something in your reality, and maybe you're like just in your life, something in your reality and in your life that you're experiencing or seeing. It feels a little hard. It feels like I don't know what to do with this. What do I do? What like I don't know how to even put my finger on it. Like it just feels like this a little bit of an unshaky ground, a little bit of this unknown. It feels a little like there might even be some fear that it could be worse. It has a little similarity with trauma energy, because trauma energy is very shaky in that pattern. But I don't know if necessarily this has just been really hard and it is triggering some of the trauma, or if you've had some negative experiences in the past. And so it's like that actually feels more true. Like maybe just that you're a little hesitant with whatever's going on in front of you, because it feels like it could be, whoa, is this going to be kind of happen, or is this situation going to be just like happened before? Whatever it was before, that did feel like it was hurtful or hard. It also feels like there is that you're in a transition state. Like, look at that. Even as I mentioned that, it feels like go ahead and take a deep breath. So I totally recommend taking some deep breaths on this. Like, Just relax into it. Remember our breath. Our breath can be so healing and so therapeutic. Take those kinds of breaths that, like if you were being chased by a big scary dog and all of a sudden you run into the house and you slam the door behind you and you're like, oh, I'm safe. Like remember to breathe and to drop some of the energies and just to be safe and safe in this moment to release and to restore and heal. And then, but it feels like a little bit of like a transition that you're going through. And so some of it is like releasing some of the hard, some of it is taking leaps of faith to go to your next level, whatever that level is for you. Yeah, just feels like an opportunity, a rebirth, if you will. So I'm going to block this person here. Okay, so let me know. Sorry, we had a troller on our stream, so I'm deleting their comments and blocking it. But anyway, Kurt, let me know how that resonated for you today. So I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear. That was such a specific thing. And with your finger, I think that as you identify some of those things, calm the system down, take those leaps of faith. It's funny. Are your eyes twitching at all too? I'm just really curious about that, Kurt. But especially if you can kind of step into that calm leap of faith, knowing that you're leveling up and just trusting that it's all going to be okay. I would even imagine whatever some of the difficult situations are in your life right now, I would actually encourage you to even imagine, like, if you were to put them in a box or in your hands, what would it feel like to hold them? Like, you can handle this. You can handle it. You can see it. You can view it. You can like put your finger on and explain it, and see if that helps with some of the shaking there or the twitching. So, okay, good. Let me know on that, Kurt. Thanks again. Okay, let's look at this. This is a great question. Super great question here, Caroline. Okay, so this is like, I've been trying to be in the being and I keep feeling boredom, which is very restless. Can you help me out with what you can see or insight? Okay, so this, Caroline, when you took I'm really curious, when you've taken some of the spiritual sense, or like, have you identified your spiritual senses? Do you have like the Claire movement where it's like the movement is important for you? I'm really curious about that. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, we do have a free training that you can go watch. It's an hour long. It's theintuitiongym.com/senses. And yeah, you can watch that and learn about the 10 different ways that we receive information. And it even touches on our intuitive personality type. Oh, fly. Okay, so Carol, yeah, you said yes, you do. Okay, because that's what it felt like. It felt like a little bit of of just that, the body having to move. So when we talk about being and doing, sometimes our brain naturally almost thinks, and it will even talk about it. Can you meditate? Can you read? Can you do, all of those things that are more being energy? But especially with you having a movement in there, I would actually even like branch out and say, how can you do being type activities or being things to be fueled by, but you can do it in a different way. So for different phrases, let me explain this. Sorry, that was a little messy explaining. But like, let's just kind of put them in like a yin or a yang. Instead of being or doing, let's put them in yin or yang, right? Like sometimes it could be like the, or even feminine or masculine energies that we've all got, right? But I like to just kind of use a neutral description of like a yin and a yang. You can do some more, you can access yin or that being energy that you're trying to tap into, but you can have it be done in some of the yang ways, or you can do some of the yang things in some of the yin ways. It doesn't have to feel like laziness, boredom, just sitting around. It could be going on a hike. A hike can be done in a being way. It could also be done in a doing way. If you've got the push and the drive and you're like, I'm going to reach the top and I'm going to put my little flag there and I'm going to just focus on the achieving and the doing and the strength and the speed and that, like, you could go for a hike in the masculine or the yang way, or you could go for a hike in more the yin way, which was more like take it at your own pace, really listen in, allow the nature to just like connect to the nature, receive what you can from the sense, from the sunshine on your face and the hearing the water from a river nearby, right? Can you see it? The same activity can be done in both a yin and a yang way. So I would totally say, like, honor you. Like, what do you enjoy doing? And can you just sprinkle in some of the yin energy or the being energy in things that you even like doing, right? It could be, going for a walk. Heck, you can even meditate in some of the yin or the yang ways. You can try to sit still and quiet everything down and just hold still, but that might be torture for you. Or you could do some kind of like a rhythmic meditation, or you could do a meditation while you're dancing or doing some kind of movement, or even just a swing, or the music that you listen to. It could have a little bit more oomph to it, and that would actually help quiet your mind more than just listening to some of the soft, calm things. So does that help, Caroline? I'm really curious. This is such a great question, because we really do have to honor our personality. We also have to honor our spiritual senses, the way that we receive things and the way that comes in. And it also just kind of helps us redefine, or not redefine, expand the definition of just being and doing. Like oftentimes just the world likes to just say them like it's literally like, I'm just going to being and meditate. Or I'm just going to, do means actually just go do something, but you can integrate like within. It's so just the world, right? Everything's fractal. You can do it within, like, so you can be, you're a woman, but which is, so you're a woman, you got some of the feminine energies, but yet the body, the clair movement, spiritual sense is naturally more of like a yang or the masculine energy, because it's more the going, doing kind of thing. And then within that, then if you're going to access the being and the yin energy, it's like you got the yin and the yang and the yin, and it's like, it's really cool. So, yeah. And okay. And then I love your comment, a recent one. I'm so used to achieving that it's restless. And so, so if it's an achievement, is there a way to, is there some kind of measuring the being? Like maybe instead of tracking results and physical results in front of you, but can you track something like, emotionally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel today? How do I feel on my self-care cup or something like that? And so you're still tracking some of the progress of your being and you're filling your cup and receiving, but yet you can still track it. So that's some really good, I feel like that is going to actually help a lot of people out here. Because I'm really curious if you've experienced this, Caroline, or anyone who's watching, but sometimes when the world has placed these boxes and these definitions around things, like you got to have the being energy, or you got to have, you got to make sure you meditate. And then a lot of the world and society likes to label what that exactly means. Like, this is what it looks like. And then if somebody doesn't fit into that box, then they feel like something's wrong with them or they're broken, that you can't do it. I mean, this really can be applied to anything, even like, your spiritual gifts, your intuitive abilities, all of those things are just, it matters how unique you are. It matters that those little nuances that maybe none of us ever fit 100% in a box. So I hope that helps. Great questions. Angie, let's go to you, my dear. I didn't get to you last week and I really wanted to. I was going to come back and it was on my list of things to do. And I'm like, well, now I'm already a week out. I think you asked me last week when I was going to try to get to you. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I made a note of it. I was like, dang it, I ran out of time. But let's do a general read for you today, my dear. Let's just see what comes up for you. Okay, hold on. Let's just take a deep breath for a moment. Okay, so part of that is actually even you. I was thinking, is that just me? Is that just from coming from one person to another? But it feels a bit like, okay, so when I look at you, it looks like you're standing in like a cloudy space where you just got like this cloudiness around you, and you're inside and just kind of like wondering, like, I don't know what to do. It kind of reminds like a movie if they're having to walk through like a fog. Maybe they're walking through a forest and it's really foggy and they can't see very well around them. It feels like that. So for you, it's kind of like, I can't see everything around me right now and I'm not sure what to do. So it's like your senses are really, it's like you're just wanting to slow down. Your breathing isn't very deep and clear. It's just kind of that shallow breathing so that all your senses can be really heightened, and you're really straining just to make sure that there's no threat. So there's nothing scary that's going to come through that fog. That's kind of how it feels. And so what I'm going to lean into and look at really fast is that sometimes the fog, we think, oh, that sounds horrible, that's bad. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean bad. It could just be part of our evolutionary process. Maybe it's something for our highest good. Maybe it's an opportunity to learn, to grow, expand. So I'm going to just kind of look at the fog and see if I can see any of the energy patterns here to help with Okay, this is really interesting. I actually think that there is some divine purpose to it, just in the way that it's coming through and the way. So yes, the breathing, definitely stay breathing, but I'm seeing your ears. There's a lot of energy just that's really coming in your ears. So I'm really curious, Angie, out of those spiritual senses, do you have clairaudience? Do you hear things? It feels like a gift or an ability that is being developed right now. Have you ever heard about how, like, if somebody loses or doesn't have one of their senses, then some of their other senses really are amplified. So like if someone is blind, then perhaps their sound or their touch can really be enhanced. Or if like somebody doesn't have the hearing, then their eyesight can get better. Have you guys heard about this? So it feels like that for you, Angie. It feels like there's some purpose in this. Like we're going to take away, it almost feels too like you had some experiences where you started feeling like you had some clarity and some openness. And now it feels like it's being taken a bit so that you can learn to hear more and hear better. There's things for you to develop through your ears and your hearing. And it's also a discernment. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. It almost feels like you're going through like a vision quest or some kind of, that's the word that just came. It was like like one of those journeys that you got to walk through. It feels like you're going through a journey right now, and it can feel hard. And it feels like I'm saying, this is a discernment opportunity for you to develop those ears. But it also feels like you're going to have a lot of good things you could try to hear, but that the darkness is really loud. So maybe you're getting some of the negative voices or some of just the challenges and the things that are going to feel a little heavier are going to be super loud. And so you have to like fine tune those ears to hear the light and stuff. And so hang in there. This actually feels, it probably feels kind of intense. I'm not going to lie. It probably feels intense. But on the other side of that is going to be some really cool gifts that you're going to be developing. So let me know on that. Angie, I'm curious how you're feeling. And also to just remember that you're never truly alone. Sometimes it may feel like you are, especially right now with some of those energies around you, but you're never truly alone. And if you cannot see the sky or see the sun through the clouds, remember that it is still there. And to lean into what you do know, like where are your roots? What have you grounded yourself into? Where are like those foundational pieces that you know to be truth no matter what? And hang on to those and cling to those. So just like a tree, when these things try to sway you off course, you're really grounded and strengthened in. So anyway, sending love to you, Angie. Definitely. I want to hear about that one. That's cool. It's you're leveling up. Leveling up for sure. Also, you know, just a reminder too, for all of those that are here that are not in we have a free interactive Facebook group. So if you just want to even like connect with the more like-minded individuals in the community on Facebook, we do have a free group where, yeah, we discuss these things, and it's a great place to connect and to talk about these things. And I do stream in there also. And you're welcome to join it. It's just called the Awakening Intuition, Spiritual Gifts and Purpose group on Facebook. So those of you who are not in that, I invite you to join it because of the fun stuff you'll find there. All right, let's see if there's what other questions. What else do you guys have coming up today? It's a quiet crowd today. I normally have lots on here going, and I'm catching up. You know, is anybody, oh, I've got Natalie. I'll look at yours, my dear. Is anybody feeling the end of May craziness? Especially if anybody has like children, school, end of school year, like all the dance recitals, all the choir concerts, all the things. Like it's just like there's such a in May with just things to do and things to do. I don't know if you guys are feeling that, but it's been kind of crazy, and finishing up all the assignments and making sure everything's done. So crazy. Okay, my sister's been feeling emotions that may not be hers. Is there a way I can help? Yeah, well, first thing I would say is, have you talked to her? Have you asked her? Like, hey, can I help? Like, Natalie, you are an extremely intuitive person. So I know, actually, I'll pop that up. Oops. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Yes, May is so much. Just like, yeah, okay. Run. Very hustle. And Natalie's feeling it too. Very hustly and bustly. Hustle and bustly. That's a great way to put it, man. It just, I forgot. Like, I don't know why I forgot. It's like every May I'm reminded how crazy it can be. But true story. And then I've got, my husband is coming down. He's been commuting because we weren't going to live here where I'm at right now. We just came down during COVID crazy and staying on my mom's vacation home. And then we liked it and my kids fell in love. So my husband's been commuting and now he's in a job interview tomorrow. So maybe move down here so we can actually make it official. Pray for us. We're excited. But that's another hustle bustle thing for May for us. It's been lots of things. Okay, so let's go back to this question, Natalie. I love this because we all have people in our lives that we especially as you're learning things and you'll see things in others. So it feels like we've all got people in our lives that we can see how we could possibly help them. So one of the first things is just, I would say, to ask. And then Natalie, you are so super intuitive. I would definitely lean into that. And then, okay, so here she says, I have talked to her and feel like she's developing gifts, but she's skeptical of energy stuff. So whenever I bump up into this kind of stuff, there's sometimes a place for you to push the envelope. Like if you feel inspired to maybe ask a question or to introduce a concept that she may not be familiar with. So there's a time and a place for you to go like, oh, what about this possibility? Oh, you know, it's like new to you. And then there's sometimes our people around us are just simply not ready for it. And so then we just got to really be in communication there and like do a check-in. Like, okay, I'm going to check in. Do I say something? What do I say? How much do I say? Do I, kind of like gauge that? And then, but oftentimes it's, well, actually, I would really say this is just kind of a human thing. Meet them where they're at. So while occasionally there's a time to push the envelope and introduce something a little like, but most of the time, the promptings and the direction that you'll get is to just meet them where they're at. Use languaging that speaks to her. So if you start going off on like, I do this all the time, depending on who I work with, depending on the client, depending on the person. Sometimes I'll use terms like spiritual gifts, or sometimes I'll use words like energy and things like that. And other times I'll just kind of be like your intuition, like your, or even I'll tie in some science, and go to maybe like quoting an article that I read, or some kind of study that's been done, and I can present a concept. Then it's in a non-threatening way. It's not super woo-woo sounding. It's just like, hey, did you hear about this? I read this book, or I came across this article, and they were talking about this. And you can present it in a way that's very digestible and a little more tangible, for that person to consume, right? Because it's not woo-woo. It doesn't sound woo-woo. It's like, really, like, there is no real woo-woo. Like, there's so much of it's like all of that can be mixed with science, spirituality, like all of it is just so one and the same. It just depends on how we treat it, how we speak about it. And so I would just say, meet her where she's at. It sounds like you've already talked to her. Check in and find out how much to share. And then the last piece that I feel it would be important is to also just, sometimes our role and the direction that we can receive is to just sit and watch the person struggle a little bit, right? Like, oh, that's hard for you. If you want, I do have some things that you could even tell her, say, hey, if you're open to it, I found some great things that helped me and they might help you, but it's totally up to you. Just let me know if I can help. And then you just leave it alone. And if she takes you up on it, great. But if not, great. And she might just have to struggle and learn on her own. When a person struggles like that and they're not having the results and the experiences that they want to have, that's what opens up their minds and their hearts to new possibilities. So maybe she's not done with her experience yet. She hasn't gotten to the point that she's open to those new thoughts and experiences, because she's still in the struggle trying to go through all the other avenues in her mind, and only until she's exhausted those will she be ready and open to it. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that's how all people are, but it is definitely a common thing. Oh, I love this. You already do that. Yeah, hands off and present it logically. Yeah, I'm sure you're doing a great job. It might just be, the other thing too is that taking into account relationships and the people around us. Sometimes you could say something till you're blue in the face, and you share the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and it just goes in one ear and out the other for the other person, because it's just kind of like, oh, you're just my sister, or heck, spouse, you're just my wife, you're my kids, you're just my mom, but then all of a sudden they hear these words from someone else and it goes ding, and the light bulb goes off, and they're like, oh, and now finally they're receiving it because it came through another source. It can feel personal, but it doesn't have to feel personal. Really, it could just be like that other witness. Can't even tell you how many times I've had, conversations with my husband's like, oh, I just had this or found this out or talked to this person. I'm like, I know, that's what I was trying to tell you. And he's like, yeah, but I had to have it like click for me, and then we can talk. Or like my kids will come home and be like, oh, Mom, you know what? Like, they're trying to teach us all this mindfulness stuff at school and all these things. And I'm just like, I didn't know that other people didn't get this stuff because you raised me with it. And I'm like, yeah. And then they don't look at me like I'm so crazy and out there anymore, because they're like, oh, like the world actually is believing this stuff too. It's not just my, out there mom. So it could just be she needs some other witnesses too. And then when she gets those other witnesses, she may come to you and then be like, okay, now I'm open. Let's talk about it. Teach me what you know, Natalie. So anyway, let me, I get this. Aren't we all a little bit, right? Good question. That is definitely something that we all have. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for being here today. I always love answering these questions and helping out where I can. Please let me know if there's anything else that comes up. We also have, we have opportunities. Like if you are watching the show live, or if you're watching if you're watching the replay, remember that you can always ask before, during, or after the show. You can write something here in the comments that you'd like me to look at something later on a future show. You can also message our page, the Intuition Gym, or you can email, and you can even ask to be anonymous if there's something you like looked at. So just to remind you that that is available for you. And I love you all. And Natalie, just reading your last comments. Yes, like she's been in a dark place. That is one of the trickiest places for us to be, is when we see loved ones that we care about in a dark place. And especially if it's just time for us to just sit back and let them struggle a little bit, because they've got to learn and open up on their own terms, right? But when it's time, you'll be there and you'll be able to share all these amazing tools and all these things. And you could probably even just sprinkle those seeds, like planting one thing at a time or one thing at a time. I'm sure you're doing a great job and way better than you even realize you are. So, okay. Thank you for being here, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Okay. Bye.